Good afternoon, Sydney, and welcome to SCB, Sydney Chatterbox. We're here this afternoon. I have an announcement that I would like to do, if you'll come anyway, before we get started. First will be the weather. It's 22 degrees out right now. It's cold. I was out there this morning myself, freezing. By 3 o'clock, I'm going to say around 3 o'clock, the winds are going to pick up pretty good out there. And it's going to get colder yet. So please make sure if you go outside today, you dress for the weather because it's going to be very cold today. The temperatures are going to be dropping down to the 20s. And like I said, it's going to be cold. Saturday, we have a high of 27, partly cloudy. Sunday, guess what? Clouds are rolling away, sunshine showing through, 30 degrees. Monday, we're going to have partly cloudy, 28, and Tuesday is partly cloudy, 27. Hopefully, spring's around the corner, and hopefully we'll be able to see some warmer weather coming through in our very near future. I'd like to take the opportunity right now to welcome my co-anchor, Charlotte Emerald. Thank you for coming in, Charlotte, and being a part of the show.
Well, thank you for having me, Jeff.
So, Charlotte's going to help me today with my podcast, and I want to make another announcement, and this is it from Washington on CNN. I don't know if anybody has heard about it yet or not, but I'd like to at least put it out there, and hope everybody could say a small prayer for these folks. There are 7 U.S. service members killed in Iraq helicopter crash. From CNN, Washington, 7 U.S. service members were killed Thursday in a helicopter crash in western Iraq, and the U.S. military said Army Brigadier General Jonathan Preda, the director of operations of the Combined Task Force leading the fight against ISIS in the region, said all personnel aboard the HH-60 Pave Hawk helicopter were killed. The military said the crash, which is under investigation, does not appear to be a result of enemy activity. The names of those aboard the helicopter were not immediately released pending the notification of next of kin. President Donald Trump offered his condolence to the families Friday morning. So if we can all take a time today and thank our brave soldiers here that have gone down in this terrible helicopter crash, who sacrificed their lives for our country. It would be much appreciated. Keep them in your prayers. They work very hard to keep our country a safe place to live in. Today we're talking, like I said, we're going to do a show. I was going to do a show about anxiety and depression. So I decided I'm not going to do a combined show and depression. That I'm going to do just a just to show a separate anxiety, separate than depression. It's a lot of information to cover, and we can't cover that much information on one show. So we're also offering a free ebook today. The ebook is Understanding Anxiety and Panic Attacks, and that's what we are broadcasting today, Understanding Anxiety and Panic Attacks. So without further ado, we're going to get our show going, and we're going to start talking about anxiety, what causes anxiety, and panic attacks, and how to keep them under control. There's things that you can do in this ebook that will help you maintain your anxiety or your panic disorders. So what is anxiety? So let's start out with explaining exactly what is anxiety. Anxiety is a word used to describe feelings of unease, worry, and fear. It incorporates both the emotions and physical sensations we might experience when we are worried or nervous about something. Although we usually find it unpleasant, anxiety is related to the fight or flight response, our normal biological reaction to feeling threatened. So this is a fight or flight we will get into further on. It's a normal feeling for everybody to have. I personally suffer from anxiety and depression. That's why I felt like this was a good thing to do a show about. I think a lot of people in our community have the same issues. So we're going to move on here. We all know what it's like to feel anxiety from time to time. Now, everybody feels anxiety differently. People who do not suffer from anxiety, but do have a small piece of anxiety. Am I not correct?
Yes, you are.
People who have anxiety and panic disorders, it's more of a trauma for us than it is for an everyday person with just general anxiety. So we'll get into more about that too. It's common to feel tense, nervous, and perhaps fearful at the thought of stressful events or decisions you're facing, especially if you could have a big impact on your life. Impacts are many. For example, having to sit through an exam, going to the hospital, attending an interview, starting a new job, moving away from home, having a baby, being diagnosed with illness, deciding to get married or a divorce. In situations like these, it's understandable to have worries about how you will perform or what outcome will be. For a brief period, you might even find it hard to sleep, eat, or concentrate. Then usually after a short while, or when the situation has passed, the feelings of worries have stopped. So, Charlotte, you want to explain to us, when does anxiety become a mental health problem?
Well, because anxiety is a normal human experience, it's sometimes hard to know when it's becoming a problem for you. But if your feelings of anxiety are very strong or last for a long time, it can be overwhelming. Well, you might find that you're worrying all the time, or perhaps about things that are a regular part of everyday life, or about things that are likely to happen, or even that aren't likely to happen, or even worrying about worrying. You might regularly experience unpleasant physical and psychological effects of anxiety, and maybe even panic attacks. Depending on the kind of problems you experience, you might be given a diagnosis of a specific anxiety disorder also, in which there are many of anxiety disorders that you may be diagnosed with. But going back to the fight or flight response, what exactly is that, Jeff?
Well, all right, what is a fight or flight response? Okay, like all other animals, human beings have evolved ways to help us protect ourselves from dangers, life-threatening situations. When you feel under threat, your body releases hormones such as adrenaline or cortisol, which help physically prepare you to either fight the danger or run away from it. These hormones can make you feel more alert so you can act fast, make your heart beat faster to carry blood quickly to where it's needed most. Then when you feel the danger has passed, your body releases some hormones to help your muscles relax, which may cause you to shake. This is commonly called the fight or flight response. It's something that happens automatically in our bodies and we have no control over it. In modern society, we don't usually face situations where we need to physically fight or flee from danger, but our biological response to feeling threatened are still the same. We had one guest write in and say, going out of the house is a challenge because I fear of panicking and feel that I'm being watched or judged. It's just horrible. I want to get help, but I'm afraid of being judged. If anxiety is affecting your ability to live your life the way you would like to, it's worth thinking about ways to help yourself. What are the symptoms of anxiety, Charlotte?
Well, if you experience anxiety, you might find that you identify with some physical and psychological sensations. Anxiety can feel different for different people, so you might also experience other kinds of feelings. Some of the physical sensations can be nausea or tense muscles and headaches, pins and needles, feeling lightheaded, dizzy, faster breathing, sweating or hot flashes, a fast thumping or irregular heartbeat, raised blood pressure, which can also create more health issues for yourself. There's difficulty sleeping or churning in the pit of your stomach. And then there's the psychological sensations also, which lead into feeling tense, nervous, or on edge, having a sense of dread or fearing the worst, feeling like the world is speeding up or slowing down, feeling like other people can see you're anxious and are looking at you, feeling your mind is really busy with thoughts, dwelling on the negative experiences, or thinking over a situation again and again, feeling restless and not being able to concentrate, or even feeling numb. There was one person that said that for them, anxiety felt as if everyone in the world is waiting for me to trip up, so that they can laugh at me. It makes me feel nervous and unsure whether the next step I take is the best way forward. What are the long-term effects of anxiety, Jeff?
Okay, well, your long-term effects of anxiety. If you have felt anxiety for a long time, or you're frequently anxious, you may experience additional effects in your mind, body, such as problems sleeping, depression, a lowered immune system, which might make you more susceptible to certain physical illnesses, smoking and drinking a lot, or misusing drugs to cope. You could have also a change in your sex drive, depending on if you're on medications for anxiety. So Charlotte, can you tell us what causes anxiety?
Well, it's really hard to know why some people experience anxiety as a mental health problem and others don't. If you worry more than others, it could also just feel like part of your personality, or it could be a mixture of these things. Sometimes you might not know why you feel anxious at all, and it might not seem to have any obvious cause. There's a lot of people that don't even realize why or even what's going on with them. But there's something distressing happening to you from in your past. You might feel anxious about facing similar situations again in case they stir up in the same feelings of distress. We have someone that wrote in saying, it all started back in high school when I was physically and verbally bullied. It was a very traumatic time for me, and sometimes still is, to think about, which bullying has been a huge issue to begin with that Jeff has covered on multiple occasions. So when you think back to people being bullied and you wonder why people end up becoming anxiety ridden and then leading on to even other issues. But feeling anxious could also be something you learned early on in life. For example, if your family or your caregivers tended to see the world as a hostile or dangerous place, you may have learned to feel the same way. It also goes into what you do for your everyday life and in your habits. Your lifestyle and the way you spend your time day to day can affect the way you feel. For example, the following experiences can all contribute to anxiety. Being exhausted or stressed out, working very long hours, which being a main caregiver to your children, you have to work those long hours, and that can lead on to pressure at home or even the pressures from work. Or in the course of your studying for a better career, then there's the housing issues, which we've gone through also in some of your previous casts.
Podcasts, yes, with the housing here in Sydney.
Yeah, which there's been a lot of issues with that. And then there's money issues too, that as many people here in Sydney being lower class, or even if you're middle class, money can be a huge problem. There was one person that said they have recently realized that they spend money when they're anxious, which in turn makes them feel anxious about how much they are spending, which makes sense. I mean, it's just a vicious cycle completely.
Yes, and anxiety, it can make people want to spend more money, or anxiety sometimes make people become hoarders. They hoard, they use that to take place of their anxiety.
Yeah, and then that'll also in return give off a really just a negative impact on their health too, which some of those issues can be your diet.
Well, let's talk about diet, okay? Your diet can affect your mood on a day-to-day basis, and some foods can mimic to trigger symptoms of anxiety, such as drinking caffeine, eating lots of sugar, or a poor diet in general. Physical mental health. Your physical health can have impact on your mental well-being. Do you have a long-term physical health condition or experience chronic pain? This might make you more vulnerable to experience mental health problems such as anxiety or depression. Similarly, if you are experiencing other mental health problems such as depression, this can also make you more vulnerable to experience problems with anxiety. So everything goes hand in hand, everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a hand-in-hand thing, anxiety and depression. Like I said, it's a lot to talk about on one show. So Charlotte and I decided that we're going to split it into two shows, and it'd be easier for us to at least talk about one and then the other and give more time for it. So panic disorders and anxiety also can be genetic. There are some evidence to suggest some people might inherit a genetic tendency to be more anxious than others. I know with my anxiety, my grandmother had severe anxiety, worse actually than mine. And she couldn't go anywhere, she couldn't do anything, she hardly left the house. I'm one of three other boys in my family and a sister. And I'm the only one out of 5 children that suffer from this anxiety problem.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm assuming, and I'm not sure, but I'm assuming that mine is genetic and might have gotten passed on to me by my grandmother.
That's a very, very good possibility. I mean, I have a very close family member to myself that they have very terrible anxiety. They barely ever leave the house, and to this day still has trouble doing day-to-day tasks, which, I mean, myself suffering from anxiety has just been able to learn how to cope, and I don't have as bad symptoms or nearly as many as my family member does, but it still does affect me every day.
What kind of anxiety disorders are there, Charlotte? You want to tell everybody what kind?
Well, the most common anxiety disorders are just panic disorder, a generalized anxiety disorder, also known as GAD. There's obsessive compulsive disorder, OCD, which many people have been known to have. There's phobias, and then post-traumatic stress disorder, which is a huge one even among veterans and military. And you may not have or want a diagnosis of a particular disorder, but it might be useful to learn about them, or even learn about the ones that you don't have, that you haven't been diagnosed with. But it might be helpful to think about your own experiences of anxiety and consider options for you to get help and get support in dealing with it. The generalized anxiety disorder is if you've ever felt anxious for a long time and often feel fearful, but are not anxious about anything specific that is happening in your life, there might be a diagnosis of generalized anxiety disorder. But there are lots of possible symptoms and effects of anxiety. This can be quite a broad diagnosis, meaning that the problems you experience with generalized anxiety disorder might be quite different from the problems another person experiences, even though you have the same diagnosis. Which goes back to, it's very personalized. Everybody with anxiety, it all affects them completely different. You might have different symptoms, or you might feel differently. There's nothing that is the same when it comes to anxiety. There's one guest that says, if you don't know what is wrong with you, how do you know how to fix it? For me, actually, being diagnosed with anxiety and panic disorders came as a relief. It meant that I wasn't imagining awful symptoms that I'd been experiencing. So, when somebody doesn't know what's going on with them, it can create them to be feeling as if they're crazy or they're just not normal, and that's not an okay feeling.
It's a scary situation. It really is.
Yes, absolutely.
I was diagnosed young at the age of 13, and being a young child, I thought I was going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I did remember one thing that a doctor had told me, and normally it's when people think they're crazy, they're really not.
Yes.
And I agree with that, because I've heard many stories about people thinking they're crazy because they have these symptoms, and this ends up being a panic disorder or depression. And but again, it goes back to what my doctor said: if you think you're crazy, you're not. It's the people that say they're not crazy that can be crazy. So just a little food for thought, everybody.
And so that just shows just how difficult it can be, especially not being diagnosed or not even knowing what's going on with you. You really want to seek out for that help to figure out what's going on for you and have that support. And then whether you're panicky and you have a panic disorder and you experience panic attacks that seem completely unpredictable and you can't even identify what triggers them, you may end up getting diagnosed with a panic disorder, and this way you can at least work with what's going on with you in life.
That's the most important thing, is having it checked. If you feel you're having different kinds of feelings and you're not sure what they are, at least see a doctor, get some kind of diagnosis, and you may be surprised. It may just be as simple as a panic disorder.
It absolutely could be. But experiencing panic disorders can mean that you feel constantly afraid of having another panic attack and going through the awful feelings that you feel over and over and over again. And that's one of the reasons why people stay in their homes, is because they're so afraid to go outside and get a panic attack and experience that. And then they're in front of everybody, and then they're being judged.
Everybody with, I'm sorry to interrupt you, Charlotte, but everybody who has anxiety, bad anxiety, or experiences it, I can tell you from personal experience that is a number one trigger, is that you're afraid. If I go to the grocery store, what if I have an anxiety attack? Are people going to laugh at me? People are going to make fun of me? What are people going to think of me? It goes through everybody's mind who suffers from anxiety. So just so you know, anxiety is more common these days. Depression is more common these days. I don't feel that somebody would make fun of you. If they do, then they need to be educated on what exactly is going on, because anxiety is a real thing to us. It may not be to them or the rest of the world, but as an individual, when we suffer these anxiety and panic attacks, it's real to us. And that's what they have to understand.
It is very real, and that's something that also you should make sure that if you're going through it, you should keep your family well informed also of what you're feeling and what exactly is going on with your situation. Keep your family informed and teach them and show them what a panic attack could be like for you, or how your anxiety affects you every day. So maybe they can understand just a little bit more, and that'll help them and make them feel like they're being included in your life, which is also a very important thing too.
Yeah.
Now, there's also another one, which was the obsessive compulsive disorder. Would you like to explain something about that?
All right, we have the obsessive compulsive disorder. It's called OCD, okay? It's not uncommon for people to have this. This phobia is an intense fear of something, even when that thing is very unlikely to be dangerous to you. Excuse me. If you have a phobia, your anxiety may be triggered by very specific situations or subjects or objects. Post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. If you develop strong feelings of anxiety after experience or witnessing something you found very traumatic, you might be given diagnosis of PTSD. PTSD can cause flashbacks or nightmares about the traumatic event, which can feel like you're reliving all the fear and anxiety you experienced during the actual event. That means you feel like you're reliving it all over again. You dream about it. It's not a fun thing. I also have post-traumatic stress disorder, and there are times where things happen in my life and I get a flashback or I think back about something that had happened and it's like it's re-happening again, but it's really not. So I have to keep telling myself this is not happening. This is just you thinking about it and getting upset about it. We're going to move on to a panic attack. These, now mind you that these are different for everybody. I'm sure there's millions more than what we're going to suggest that happens, because I know I have many different ones here that are out on this information packet. So don't be surprised if it's not on there. It still could be considered part of a panic attack. So Charlotte, would you like to let us know what a panic attack could exist of? I mean, like I said, many different things.
A panic attack is an exaggeration of your body's normal response to fear, stress, or excitement. It is the rapid buildup of overwhelming physical sensations. They can feel like a pounding heartbeat or feeling faint, sweating, nauseous, chest pains, feeling like you're unable to breathe. You can get shaky limbs or feeling like your legs are turning to jelly or feeling like you're not even connected to your body. You can also just shut down completely and just not even feel like you're right there. There was one person that said that they could feel all those physical symptoms building inside them, literally feeling every part of their body until they felt completely lightheaded and disembodied. They felt like they couldn't breathe and they just wanted to get out and go somewhere else, but they couldn't because they were on a train, which that can be very, very scary, and which also leads to being out in public.
Yes.
Yes.
Trains, I would consider maybe running a train, go on a trip somewhere, but you will not get me in the air on an airplane. I can tell you that much right now. I like my feet pumped on the ground, and being an airplane is too much distance between me and the ground. That will never happen in my lifetime, unfortunately.
Yes, very unfortunate. Now, during a panic attack, you might feel very afraid that you're losing control or you're going to faint or even that you're going to have a heart attack and that you're going to die, which that's a very, very scary feeling and very real feeling too.
It is real for the person who has anxiety. It really is. Especially the heart palpitations. You hyperventilate, you feel like you can't catch your breath. And as you get older, it seems to worsen, I feel. Because now you're an older person, and right away, your first thing on your mind is, oh my God, I'm having a heart attack. It's not necessarily so. And again, if you get these feelings, and if you feel like you think you're having a heart attack, please do not be afraid to pick up a phone and call 911, okay? We're not saying it's just all anxiety, okay? we're just saying that this is a similarity that could be caused by panic attack. But if it's that bad and you feel, even if it is anxiety, you feel that you might be having a heart attack, pick up the phone, call 911, have somebody come out, check it out.
Always.
Always. Don't be afraid to pick up the phone, call 911 on any kind of symptoms that you may feel. Like I said, there's many that are different, okay? So that's what we have 911 for.
Now, there's another one that wrote in and said that their teeth would chatter uncontrollably and their whole body would tremble. They'd hyperventilate and cry with panic as the feeling that they were going to fall unconscious was so convincing. Now, that little part of their teeth chattering, I can actually remember that feeling during childbirth, going under the knife for the cesarean section, complete anxiety.
Yes, it's a common thing. I've been in for just general things, and I've experienced the teeth chattering, just from anxiety. It really moves everything in your body. Panic disorder. I mean, it gets you going, and you try to control it. I've been to doctors since I was 13, and they give you coping mechanisms, and sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, and I'll be perfectly honest with you from my personal experiences. But it's not saying that won't work for everybody, and that's why we're offering this information, and that's why we're going to send you an ebook if you're interested. I just want to take a minute one more time to let you know that today's program is Understanding Anxiety and Panic Attacks. If you are a part of the situation and you are having panic attacks, please do not hesitate to email us, okay, at sydneychatterbox@gmail.com. And we will send you a free email book, okay, that will cover today's show, plus much more that we have not covered for the show today, which is they give you worksheets that you can do and keep track of things. This is a very interesting information that we have found, and that's why we feel that we need to share it with everybody. So we're going to move on to, when do panic attacks happen? Might happen whenever they want to. I don't know about everybody else, but they just happen, and I could be doing something, and there it is. So let's see what we have to say here. It's different for different people. You might have good understandings about situations or places that you are likely to trigger an attack for you, or you might feel that your attacks come without warning and happen at random. Those random ones are the worst, that just come with no warning. Some things that, like I said, I'll never fly, panic attack automatically. So just keep that in mind. Panic attacks can also come in the night while you're sleeping and wake you up. This can happen if your brain is very alert due to an anxiety and interprets small changes in your body as a sign of danger. Experiencing a panic attack during the night can be particularly frightening, as you may feel confused about what's happening and are helpless to do anything to spot it coming. We had another person write in and say, I can't sleep due to panic attacks and nightmares. When I fall asleep within an hour, I'm up, soaked, heart racing, and shaking. That happens to me quite often, and again, it's your brain working while you're sleeping. How long does a panic attack last? Okay, most panic attacks last between 5 to 20 minutes. They come on very quickly, and your symptoms will usually peak within 10 minutes. Sometimes you might experience symptoms of panic attack which last for up to an hour. If this happens, you are probably experiencing one attack after another, or a high level of anxiety after the initial panic attack. See, now, here we are again, ladies and gentlemen. It's a panic attack, and then you get another panic attack and another panic attack, which makes that even more frightening than ever, because you're trying to bring yourself down from the first one, and then automatically you have a second one coming in, and it's causing more havoc with your body and your mind.
And that's where you feel like you're starting to lose control completely of your body
Yes.
and your mind. Yeah.
But just remember, as you're going through a panic attack, you're not crazy, you're not losing control. You have to just ride it out. And there's self-helps in here, and this ebook that we want to give to everybody. Read it through and maybe do a worksheet. Maybe try it, to work your way through a panic attack. Even if we help one person at this podcast, we would be very, very happy. That's what we're here to do. So how often might I have a panic attack? Again, it's different for different people. You might have one panic attack and never experience another one. Or you might have attacks once a month or 7 times a week. So it comes and goes. It's very frequent. How can I help myself manage anxiety? Well, in the literature we're going to send you on this ebook is going to give you a lot of information on how to help yourself, okay? A common and natural response to anxiety is to avoid the triggers you fear, okay? That means like if you have anxiety going to the grocery store, you just don't go. I have anxiety driving long distance. I'm limited to going so much distance by myself. Once I get past that certain distance, I have to have somebody with me. It's a security for me, and it has to be somebody who can drive. So it's a very secure situation for me too. So we avoid that. It can be difficult, but facing up to how anxiety makes you feel can be the first step in breaking the cycle of fear and insecurity. If you experience anxiety or panic attacks, there are many things you can do to help yourself cope. All right, like I said, this literature has many things. You could talk to somebody you trust. You could do breathing exercises, which is in this ebook.
You can also try shifting your focus onto something else, or try reassuring yourself. There's physical exercise, which will also help your health in general completely. And then there is also keeping a diary.
Yes, keeping a diary. That is, again, in this ebook, okay? Eat a healthy diet and complementary therapies, okay? There are quite a few things in this ebook. Like I said, if you would like one, email us, okay, at sydneychatterbox@gmail.com, and we will send you an ebook out immediately, free of charge. You download it to your phone, you can download it to your computer. It's in a PDF file, so you'd have to have Adobe Reader. Most iOS phones and Androids have that already on them, so it's very easy to download, and you can actually take it with you if you put it on your phone. Print up the worksheets and see if that helps at all.
And share them with your family, with your friends, with anybody that you think it may help them, or help your family to understand, or whoever, your significant other, to just figure it out.
Yeah, it's very important to let people know. I know everybody gets very scared to actually let people know that you suffer from these, but anybody who's your close friend, family members, they all need to know. They all need to know this way. When it happens, they'll know how to respond to you and how to work with you during these episodes. So, again, it's very important. So this ends our program for today. We would like to thank all our guests for watching. Everybody who likes this podcast, please click like. Leave a comment if you would like. Remember, we are here to do positive things. No negative comments are accepted. Everything has to be a positive comment. We're here to try to help and do things in a positive manner. So this is SCD Podcast. I'm Jeff, and this is Charlotte, and we thank you for coming, and take care of yourself, and each other.